Hey everybody. Well, it's April 15th and the RCMP public complaint interim letter for April has arrived, guys, at 10:32 a.m. I wonder if the RCMP responsibility unit investigating Constable Conrad Erbes for misconduct has gone any further with the investigation now another month later, or in total a year plus later. It's been a year since the investigation was started. And where are we today? Let's take a look at the letter, guys, from the Kelowna RCMP Professional Responsibility Unit. Bam, bam, bam. And here we have it, guys. Oh, it doesn't look like anything new. Dear Marcel Irnie, this letter refers to your complaint against Constable Erbes of the Kelowna RCMP detachment that you made to the Civilian Review and Complaints Commission for the RCMP, which is the CRCC, on January 24th, 2023. Well, now it's April 15th, so that's February, March, April. So a year and 3 months, almost a year and 3 months later, guys. And please be advised that the investigation is ongoing. Amazing. It is ongoing. In accordance with the provisions of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Act, you will be advised of the progress of your complaint throughout the process every 30 days until it is completed. Yours truly, Ryan Failer, Sergeant Ryan Failer, and Acting Corporate and Client Services Officer, Kelowna RCMP. And there you have my operation file number, blah, 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 guys. It's still going nowhere. So when was the last news we had about Conrad Erbes? Now, keep in mind, I have actually met with Sergeant Failer on 3 occasions where we had over an hour interview about what the details that he needs to investigate, and several hour-long phone conversations. So it's been, and then of course I had to do the application for the letter to start with. All right, let's jump to almost a year ago, guys, April 18th, 2023, and this was a reply from Corporal, now Sergeant Failer Ryan, from Ryan Failer. I received the email and attachments. So you can see he was a corporal at the time for Professional Responsibility Unit. And I send him to Corporal Ryan Failer. Dear, following our conversation today, I have attached several documents for your review. A, the request for particulars submitted to the RCMP. Attention Staff Sergeant Abels, who is the superior to Erbes. B, my copy of the violation ticket I received with the blue pen crossed out, count 1, and the selected owner with the checkmark box. If you guys don't know the history, we're not going to get into it. Go watch the City of Kelowna harassment playlist, and it goes to all the details. C, the violation ticket received by Erbes on December 6th, after my first request for particulars on December 5th. And the Erbes violation ticket officer notes, Erbes synopsis 1, again, received on December 6th. Erbes photos included with the disclosure. Erbes additional violation ticket AJ 24629795 served outside the courtroom 350 door on December 14th, guys. And that I am still going to court for these tickets on May 2nd. I have court on May 2nd for the ticket 9795, where I have just last court time in October 29th, 2023. I just started to cross-examine Erbes after he gave his testimony. And then it was set for continuation because it was lunchtime, and now May 2nd I get my continuation from October 29th. Very efficient, right? H, Erbes personal cease and desist notice letter handed me with the violation ticket that he gave me, the 9795, so his personal threat. Erbes personal cease and desist letter, page 2, showing the date of service, which is December 14th, 1:25 p.m. in Kelowna Courthouse. So Erbes actually wrote that he gave me the ticket in the courtroom at that exact time, and on the cease and desist, signed. And then a notice of hearing date, December 14th. So I'm giving him all the evidence, as you can see. See further emails with continuation of applicable documents. And then there's the playlist of the original video files from January 29th. Then I emailed him on, again, April 18th to Ryan, Corporal Ryan Failer, Part 2, notice of hearing date, March 29th, which was when we went to the next court date. I, notice of claim, page 1, served me in courtroom 350. He served 30 minutes into the hearing violation ticket, AJ 245678. That's the original ticket he gave me on January 29th, 2022. Served in front of the Judicial Justice Burgess and the Crown Prosecutor Constable Smith on March 29th. So that's when he actually served me his claim, where he sued me in court, a personal suing. Oh, there's Dan. And there's the cease and desist letter with the notice of claim filed April 11th, guys. bylaw ticket left on motor vehicle windshield. I included that. The bylaw ticket was voided by Sergeant William Scott, watch NCO, and I included that evidence as well. Commissioner complaint request. I talked about how I reached out for the detailed security report, the secret detailed security report that Erbes could, you're not welcome here on January 29th, right? When he was attacking me, harassing me. And he said, there's a file, I'm attending a file, but he was unable to provide such file, right? And then we go on. So there's all the evidence attached. Then I continue with part 3 to Corporal Failure Ryan. As per our phone conversation, please forward the code of conduct, and just kind of following up, guys. So this was what was going on a year plus ago. Then we actually got ready to meet up. Here's an email, April 24th. Can we meet up earlier tomorrow morning around 11 a.m.? Because I have other work to take care of in court. And then your reply, here's 11 a.m. So you're seeing, like, there was quite a lot of process, a lot of phone calls, a lot of meetups. Yes, we meet up to downtown. And it wasn't until June 16th that we actually got some sort of news. And it's, please find attached a notice of direction regarding your public complaint you lodged with the Kelowna RCMP. Well, a long time ago. And this is when the only thing so far of interest with Erbes was the fact, not what he did on January 29th with harassing me for 3 hours, saying I was unwelcome here, and not identifying himself even after I asked him 6 to 10 times on camera. And this is what came of it, a notice of direction, only about how he served me in the courtroom did personal business at work. So here we have for the June 2nd, 2023. This letter is in reference to concerns regarding Constable Conrad Erbes of the Kelowna RCMP as expressed to the Civilian Review and Complaint Commission for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police on January 24th, 2023. Pursuant to subsection 4561(3) of the RCMP Act, this letter constitutes a notice of direction informing you that 3 of the allegations identified in your complaint will be investigated under Part 4 of the RCMP Act. So subsection 45.61 and subsection 3, your complaint outlined. On December 14th, 2022, Constable Erbes served a cease and desist letter on you in the Kelowna courthouse while he was on duty and in uniform. You believe this was done as an act of intimidation and was outside the scope of his duties. On March 29th, 2023, okay, so much later on, Constable Erbes served a notice of hearing on you in the Kelowna courtroom while he was on duty and in uniform. You believe this was done as an act of intimidation and was outside the scope of his duties. So, again, December 14th, he gave me the cease and desist at the traffic court. And then on March 29th, he actually served me a notice of hearing, he sued me and gave me that paperwork in court on March 29th. And on March 29th, Constable Erbes delayed the court process by leaving the courtroom to attend court registry and obtain a notice of hearing while he was on duty and in uniform. So he actually, not judge, but the Justice Burgess waited in the whole courtroom. We all waited for 30 minutes as Erbes was down at registry saying that it was something for that court case, and he came up and sued me and handed me in the courtroom. And so, Mr. Irnie, your allegations listed above are serious in nature. As a result, a code of conduct investigation has been initiated against Constable Erbes under Part 4 of the RCMP Act. As per Section 45.57 subsection 1 of the RCMP Act, you will be given the opportunity to make representation with respect to Constable Erbes' conduct. Additionally, as per Section 45.171 of the RCMP Act, you will be notified as soon as feasible of the results of the Part 4 Code of Conduct process. Well, as soon as feasible, guys. Nothing. We have nothing today. That's what the whole point of this video is. Pursuant to paragraph 4561 subsection 1A of the RCMP Act, via paragraph 45.532A, I am directing that the investigation to the above listed allegation from your public complaint not continue within the public complaint process, as they are of a nature that could be more appropriately be dealt with according to another procedure under the RCMP Act, namely a Part 4 Code of Conduct process. So what they're saying is they wanted to move that section to an internal investigation that is not part of my public CRCC complaint, which means I would lose all control on what's happening and have no due course to appeal to the CRCC. So guess what I did, guys? I appealed this to the CRCC to keep it in the public domain, and that's what happened. And the CRCC said, we understand, and it's still ongoing investigation. And you can see Inspector Leah Oh, it's a tough one. Kukurudza. Kukudza. I'm not even going to try again. And then you can see CC'd Constable Conrad Erbes, E division of this whole letter. Now you can see I did a reply email to Corporal, or at the time, Failer, and on June 22nd, 2023, hey, Sergeant Failer, I got the notice of direction sent by email from Inspector Leah Kukudraza, and I have questions. I'd like to schedule a phone call when we are both available with the notice of direction PDF and police act sections at the hand to help me understand what's happening. Also, did you contact the commissioners to request a detailed security report in your initial investigation? Can you please forward to me as I need for my provincial court cases? Who is the commissioner's witness redacted on Erbes synopsis 1? If you guys remember, you know, in his synopsis, to go to these courtrooms when you ask for full disclosure, he said there was a witness, and he redacted the witness saying that I was causing a disturbance throughout the Freedom Convoy on January 29th. And that he wanted to arrest me, but I was inside the motorhome, you know, to all those people on the comments section on Castanet forum saying, why didn't you just get outside? Well, because if I did get outside of the RV, he was going to arrest me, and from the way he was acting, he was going to do something unjust to me. And it was written in the synopsis that he wanted to... he was not arrested because he was in the motorhome, right? Arrested for what? What probable cause? What criminal offense? You know, what reasonable articulable suspicion do you have? And he had none. It's just the fact that I wasn't welcome here, quote. And anyways, Corporal Failure replies, thanks, Marcel. I'm going to get my assistant to update our records. I am just on course again this week. I'll try to touch base. And yes, very observant of you. I did get a promotion. Thank you. Regards. So Sergeant Ryan Failer is going to be hearing this video, most very likely. And he's going to be like, I'm going to ask you, Sergeant Failer, why we got, since the last time we talked on the phone, how many months has it been? Where is the investigation going? Why have you not done anything? Why have you not given me an update besides an interim letter saying, oh, it's an ongoing investigation? And now we fast forward to June 27th. You know, sorry, I saw your response this morning. Would 10 a.m. work for you? So we're going to meet up again. I am continuing to collect information on this matter as well, including the security report, which I've been asking for, for all year now. And now I did an application under that first ticket, 5678, guys, from Erbes on January 29th, to have it moved to provincial court, where I can have a real judge and give my charter violation argument, right? A real judge, not Justice Burgess, which is just the traffic court justice. And then I got a real prosecutor from O.G. Harris, Miho, O.G. Harris. Mr. Irnie, thank you for your message. I have recently requested that we receive all notes and materials and Constable Erbes confirmed we have it. So he's confirmed that they have everything, which is nothing. Have you requested the disclosure from our office yet? I am still waiting for the recording from the courtroom. So that's the first courtroom, guys, that we discussed on March 29th, 2023. I understand the judge has to sign my application to receive the recordings. As soon as I receive it, I will review and determine whether to proceed. For now, you can assume we are proceeding until such a determination is made. So I asked, are we still going to court? We've asked for disclosure. Nobody's gotten disclosure. So if I back up to say from my email, hey Mio, I'm seeking an update regarding the Crown's decision to go to provincial court on June 23rd. And so yeah. And Miho got back to me, guys, on this is July 4th. Mr. Irnie, I am corrected by my staff and advised there's a bit of disclosure we are still waiting for. I bet a lot. And have still not received the disclosure you requested from Constable Erbes. I will follow up and see when we can expect it, guys. So that again, July 4th. And then, of course, now to from Marcel to Ryan, I sent him on July 4th. And this is a forward from the Crown prosecutor, Rex vs. Irnie, on the ticket AJ24625678. Court file number, there it is. Charter application. The Crown has now completed the review of this file and have decided to enter a stay of proceedings on your traffic ticket matter. Again, the 5678 tickets, the one that Erbes gave me on January 29th. As a result, the hearing scheduled for June 23rd, 2023 is canceled. So I guess I'm following up with this on July 4th. That's why the dates don't make sense. But yeah, the Crown stated they have no case. Erbes would not give anybody disclosure because he's lying about everything and he doesn't want to give any disclosure about his lies. Yeah, sorry, I definitely had the date screwed up about the July. That's because I'm just forwarding all this to Corporal Ryan Failer so he can get a heads up. But it was on June 20th, before the June 23rd court date. And I wrote back to the Crown, "Dear Crown, I'm following up on the stay of proceedings regarding traffic ticker, the 5678, and the second ticket, 9795, that you may not be in your system yet, but was included in my notice of application April 25th, 2023. Please see notice of application to understand why the ticket is not in your system yet. And note, Erbes has finally submitted the second ticket, 9795, to the Violation Ticket Center, which they received June 5th, 2023, 174 days after issuing the ticket." So Erbes gave me the second ticket in the courtroom, right, on December 14th. December 14th, the same year, 2022, as the January 29th when he gave me the ticket. So we get to court on December 14th. He gives me the second ticket, 9795, but he didn't submit that ticket to the ICBC, to the actual ticketing office until June 5th. They didn't receive it for 174 days. Why did he do that? Because he wants to go to court twice. He wants to waste taxpayers' money. He wants two chances in front of the judge with me, right? So he didn't want both tickets combined for the same judge, the same date, even though they're for the same offense date, same issue, same Constable Erbes, same me, right? And so I say the 9795 was issued December 14th at the courthouse for the same January 29th incident by Constable Erbes. The second ticket, 9795, will also need to be stopped in the system, or as a consequence, a new court date will be set in the judicial justice, and the whole process will start over again with another identical notice of application. Let me know any questions. See attached. And of course, the Crown got back to me on June 22nd here at 8:42 a.m. The Crown does not currently have conduct of the second ticket, so we are unable to take any legal action on that file at the moment. Sincerely, Kelowna Crown Counsel, BC Prosecution Service. Isn't it awesome how they have no accountability? There's no name attached to the Crown, nothing. The initial prosecutor, Miho, she went on vacation. They passed it to another person. That ticket was stayed. And then I contacted her about the second ticket to follow up with her because she's the only person with a name. And she tried to do something, but realized the same answer. Now let's fast forward to August 10th, guys, where I'm dealing with the RCMP Responsibility Unit, Corporal or Sergeant Failer again. And August 10th, "Hi Marcel, you'll be receiving your 30-day update letter soon," as I showed you, which just says process ongoing. However, I wanted to provide you with more detail and so forth. So he's giving me an update here. The video of the incident has been reviewed. A request has been made for the court transcripts, and I am currently waiting to receive the documents. That's the transcripts from the March 29th, the first time we actually got to speak in court, and Erbes gave his testimony, right? And then it was stayed, right? But he gave testimony. There's a tape evidence of what Erbes said. I have obtained the video from within the courthouse and the courtroom from March 29th. Unfortunately, the December video had been recorded over, and they only hold it for a couple of months. Oh yeah, so let's, ongoing investigation forever. The evidence disappears. I have connected, we're talking about the videos and the audio recording from court when Erbes is actually serving me these cease and desist and serving me the notice of claim. So the video proof and audio proof is there if it's still there. I've connected with the security officer that you spoke to in January, right? That's the security officer for the commissioners of Kelowna. And I am arranging to meet with him for a statement. Unfortunately, Corporal Hall is not available to speak with me about the incident. I'm not sure when he'll be available. So Corporal Hall has been avoiding the whole process. I contacted him to be a witness. He said he was busy. I contacted him again. He's busy. Corporal Hall, awesome. He's the actual good RCMP officer from the scene January 29th. He alleviated the situation. He mediated the situation between Erbes and got Erbes to get off of me and leave, and the tow truck driver to unhook. So I really appreciate Corporal Hall. But he does not help me any further. He is just being a ghost, essentially, and doesn't want to be involved. And it's understandable, but still, he needs to get there and tell what happened. I will acquire some of the above information. So, Sergeant Failer continues, based on our last meeting, I have added 2 additional allegations to your public complaint. Neglect of duty, in that Constable Erbes did not provide full disclosure of materials requested by you for court. The security officer report, right? That's the detailed security report that keeps getting mentioned and redacted. Irregularity of evidence, in that Constable Erbes testified in traffic court that he identified himself when he first attended your camper. You can test that Constable Erbes did not identify himself. On and on. Now, back to how he gave me the first code of conduct moving. He's replying, also, we received a request for review from the CRCC information request. A review can be requested if a complaint is dissatisfied with the findings. And so in this case, your complaint, there's not been any findings yet as the matter is still under investigation. I'm not sure why we received this request, but I've reached out to try and get an answer. And so I'm just following the process of CRCC. They gave me an interim letter. They gave me a notice letter, and I sent that to the CRC saying this has got to be ongoing in the public domain. So fast forward to August 14th. Dear Sergeant Failer, thank you for your email update. I have attached my reply in PDF format, Marcel Irnie Allegations Erbes Update to Sergeant Failer, August 14th. I have also attached my notice of application, April 25th, with 2023, with accompanying affidavit as I referenced the notice of application in my reply. So I give him more evidence, all the information on the allegations he needs to look at. And we can take a quick look at the 11 pages of my allegations, guys. But you can see I took a lot of time. If I just kind of fast forward, you can see it all with the links of the videos and what's going on. And I'm going to need to reread this for my own. Since I got court coming up, I got to refresh my mind. So let's take a little look here for people that don't know. Dear Sergeant Failer, thank you for the email update. Further to our meeting of July 5th, I requested the CRCC conduct a review of the RCMP's disposition of my complaint in regard to the notice of direction, and my request for it was accepted. The CRCC request for review form specifically mentions a letter of disposition or a notice of direction for reasons to request a review. And that's what the letter was called, a request. It was a notice of direction. With respect to the notice of direction, code of conduct, allegations, investigation, I understand this could also include A, obtaining court registry documents including dates and timestamps of Erbes' notice of claim, B, reviewing courtroom recordings and transcripts from both December 14th and March 29th, C, interviewing RCMP Crown Counsel Smith, who was on duty in court March 29th. So that was the Crown on the first court date where he served me the cease and desist. D, identifying and interviewing the other commissioner first on scene with Commissioner Steve Rath as seen on video at 8:07 p.m. Video and transcripts may include Marcel Irnie informing Justice Burgess that he had just been served a cease and desist letter in combination with additional violation ticket 9795 December 14th and a notice of claim by Constable Erbes in the courtroom March 29th, 2023, which Irnie felt was meant to be an act of intimidation towards the defendant and witness. F, the Crown Constable Smith informing the court on March 29th, 2023 that Constable Erbes would be late as he was attending the court registry. G, I had 5 witnesses who attended the third floor courtroom waiting area where Constable Erbes arrived at 2:31 p.m. for the March 29th, 2023 2:30 court time. Erbes entered from the elevator and walked past everyone down the courtroom hallway at 2:31 p.m. Erbes then returned to the waiting room, spoke with Constable Smith, and then proceeded to go back to the elevator. We waited in the hallway for another 7 minutes, approximately to 2:37 p.m. before Crown Representative Constable Smith said to proceed into the courtroom. The same witnesses from the waiting room were also present in the courtroom as Constable Smith informed the room that Erbes was at the registry and would be late. We waited approximately 30 minutes in the courtroom for Erbes to return. When Erbes returned after 3:10 p.m. approximately, he dropped a notice of claim on my lap. 2 of the courtroom witnesses, blah, blah. H, to obtain Constable Erbes' RCMP notebook. Handwritten notes surrounding the events of January 29, 2022, and Erbes' notes pertaining to the court dates with Marcel Irnie, and Erbes' notes in relation to the January 29, 2022 Freedom Convoy rally in Kelowna, BC. I want his personal notes. Like, this is not what he writes on the ticket. RCMP officers always have a personal notebook where they write all. This is how they're taught. They're taught to write down all the notes, so they have it for them, and they can always go back to it. You can't memorize everything, so they're taught to take huge amounts of notes, and that's what we want to see and they can't rip those pages out of the notebooks, guys. If they're missing pages there, that's a big problem for them. So allegations to be added to my public complaint. Again, the neglect of duty, officer identification, and we go into, there's a standard set on the RCMP websites. Erbes didn't understand the intent nor the spirit of the standard for RCMP officer identification. Erbes arrived at my camper in a mask and with no ID. Erbes refused to ID himself upon multiple requests. The RCMP standard, officer self-identification. To date, I have identified 2 documents that speak to this issue. The Government of Canada's official RCMP website has a section entitled Officer Identification, and the CRCC Complaint Allegation Types Information document, in particular F, Neglect of Duty, addresses these issues. Website link below. I'll highlight it for you. Your safety is our priority. We regularly reinforce with our officers the importance of self-identification. Residents can also request identification from RCMP police officers. You may also ask to see the officer's badge and ID card. If anything seems off, call your local police. So that's on the rcmp.crc.gc.ca, guys, on Nova Scotia officer identification. The second, the complaint allegation type states refusal to identify oneself may be a neglect of duty under the RCMP standards. And so there's the link to the CRCC website under classification complaints. I am curious what training RCMP officers receive and the relevant training manuals and what other documents state. I am curious how this is being regularly reinforced with officers. This is a serious issue and perhaps should be brought to the attention of senior RCMP management. The standard for RCMP officers' self-identification may not be a practical standard in Kelowna. So here it is, underlined. Did Constable Erbes neglect his duty, and did Constable Erbes mislead or intend to mislead how he conducted himself? A. I believe Constable Erbes does not understand the intent nor the spirit of the RCMP standard for officer identification. This led to what should have been at most a simple, quote, bylaw parking education or information, end quote, being communicated, but instead escalated to my charter rights being violated in a 3-hour RCMP detainment and harassment ordeal. B. The available evidence, including court transcripts, video, interviews, show that Constable Erbes does not understand the standard of duty and more than likely misled or intended to mislead the court and others about his conduct. Now we move on to video evidence highlights include A. Erbes on March 29th court testimony. This is a quote from Erbes. Mr. Irnie held a cell phone in my face and demanded to know my name and badge, which had already been provided. I didn't provide my badge, but I did provide my name as well as my jurisdiction, which by lawful obligation, end quote. So there you have it. That's what he said in his testimony on March 29th, and that's what Sergeant Failer is supposed to get in the court video audio. Now, B, January 29th, 2022, video evidence demonstrates that Erbes refused to identify himself under the RCMP police standards. Erbes stated several times in video on January 29, 2022 that he will not identify until I step out of the camper and meet him on the sidewalk. Now I'm going to read you guys the transcript from that video on January 29th. Irnie, so what's your name? Erbes, my name will be available to you when you provide me your ID on the sidewalk. Erbes, my name's available to you out here. Erbes, okay, you failed to comply with me, so I'm failing to comply with you until you meet me out here. And there's the video link, guys. 4, Erbes, so you can have my name when you get out of the vehicle and we can look at your plate and deal with this like adults, end quote. Number 5, Irnie, what is your name? You have to provide me your name, end quote. Erbes, I'll provide it to you in writing on paper, end quote. 6, Irnie, no, I need to see your badge number. Show me your badge number. Erbes, I don't have a badge to show you. And then there's the video link. So this is what I wrote. This is the details going to Sergeant Failer. C, I recommend obtaining the transcripts from the phone calls I placed to the RCMP on January 29, 2022, where I relayed the RCMP vehicle number to find out the officer's name. The phone calls are also available in my January 29th video evidence documentation. Call the RCMP operator. So here's number 7, Irnie. Quote, and do you have his name, the KL3228 vehicle being held right now? So that's my quote from the video, from my video of me calling the RCMP detachment. RCMP operator, quote, yeah, that's a Constable Erbes, E-R-B-E-S, Erbes. There's the video. Number 2, oppressive conduct. Erbes threatened to tow and MVAR violation tickets and bylaw tickets if I didn't meet him outside. Erbes immediately threatened to tow my motor vehicle with me in the camper, and Erbes threatened MVAR tickets if I didn't step outside the camper and meet him in the street and give him my ID. It is unsafe for a member of the public to meet a masked and armed individual making threats, stating he is RCMP, but refuses to identify herself with a name and RCMP ID card. This is a terrifying situation for any Canadian citizen and directly correlates to what the RCMP officer identification standard mentions and relevant to public education after the Nova Scotia murders by a police impersonator. So here's J under the CRCC. Oppressive conduct. This category addresses several misuse of police authority on powers, aggravated harassment, unfounded, unfair, embellished charging, and threats or intimidation via any of the foregoing. And then there's the link to the CRCC. Number 3 allegation, evidence irregularity and neglect of duty, misled the courts, fabricated by bylaw regulations for intimidation. Erbes misled the courts, stating he did not identify himself with his name and jurisdiction. Quote, I did provide my badge, but I didn't provide my name as well as my jurisdiction, which by lawful obligation, end quote. That's Erbes' testimony again, March 29, 2023. Erbes attempted to mislead me on January 29, 2022, citing untrue MVAR regulations, or he should have known to be untrue, to intimidate and threaten me to get outside the camper. Erbes also attempted to cite Kelowna bylaw parking regulations that he was either fabricating or should have known to be untrue, as further actions of intimidation, when in fact I was allowed to be parked on Water Street on the night of January 29th. And that is under I, evidence or irregularity from the CRCC. This category addresses allegations that a member provided erroneous testimony in a judicial proceeding. It also addresses allegations that a member failed or refused to report the facts of a public complaint as service provided or investigation concealed, and or failed to testify to the correct or true facts. And there's the link. Number 4 allegation, non-disclosure. Erbes didn't provide any disclosure as per my written requests. To list the most important, Erbes didn't provide, commissioner's witness name was redacted, commissioner's witness complaint, the commissioner's witness detailed security report to police, the CCTV video evidence, quote, the vehicle had been observed by CCTV monitoring to the day prior. That was in a synopsis. F, Mario's towing. Corporal Hall, in an effort to resolve the matter, had RCMP cover towing expenses. Where's the evidence of that? Mario's towing invoice and invoice paid was not included in particulars. Erbes said that he had a file. I'm attending a file as to his reasoning for knocking on the camper door, but has not given any disclosure of this, quote, file. K, we request RCMP Corporal Hall's synopsis report, handbook, on and on. L, Erbes said security interacted with you. Before Erbes knocked on Mr. Irnie's camper door, we are requesting an unidentified security commissioner to witnesses' names and all particulars in relation to security interacted with Mr. Irnie before 8:07 p.m. And, we can go through the whole list, down to the phone calls at the bottom. Let's move on to allegation 5. Abuse of my process to appeal. Abuse of my process to appeal ticket, the AJ 5678, by crossing out count 1 on my copy of the ticket and not on his copy. I see attached my notice of application with affidavit stating material facts and attached exhibit. I had to attend court registry to file a dispute with reason with affidavit to have count 1 disputed. And there's my notice of application, registered April 25th. On May 2nd, 2022, the accused learned that Constable Erbes had not crossed out count 1 on the copy of ticket AJ, the 5678 he had submitted to the court, resulting in a default conviction against the accused, which required the accused to take additional action, including court filings, and have the default conviction vacated. So that's what I had to do to get to court in the first place. Allegation, he just messed with the whole system by crossing out the ticket on my side but not on his. So I couldn't dispute it, you understand? Allegation, interfering with my process to a fair and timely trial by issuing violation ticket AJ the 9795 with a malicious intent, waiting from December 14th, 2022 to June 2023. The violation ticket center received AJ 9795 ticket copy from Erbes on June 5th. 173 days, about 5.5 months after being served to me. Erbes waited to submit ticket, the AJ 9795, only after the March 29th, 2023 trial proceeded, and only after the next court date, quote, continuance trial date, end quote, was scheduled. The next provincial court was scheduled for June 23rd, 2023. And that's the one that was also, stayed by the court. Later on, as we talked about earlier, Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Section 7, conform to the principle of fundamental justice, the basic principles that underlie our notions of justice and fair process, end quote. So that's the Charter, Section 7, guys. Number 7 allegation, discrimination and persecution of my fundamental rights and beliefs. Right to peaceful assembly, Section 2C. Right to freedom of press, Section 2B. And right to freedom of association, Section 2D, as per our Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So on January 29th, video evidence transcribed, quote, Erbes, I'm quoting Erbes, you're parked here, you're unwelcome here, end quote. Irnie, unwelcome? What are you discriminating against me? I don't understand, end quote. And there's the video link. So this is the evidence that Sergeant Feather is getting, and again, a year later has done nothing. Notice of application with affidavit. And then I kind of go over my notice of application with affidavit, but we don't need to get into that detail. We've done that in previous videos of material facts. You know, it goes into my charter rights violations. It's like the paperwork. And so Constable Erbes violated my charter rights in several ways. Intimidation tactics, of course. Active intimidation before the start of trial. Number 2, you're not welcome here is the motive behind him harassing me, ? You're unwelcome here. Number 3, Erbes was unable to provide appropriate reasoning or an actual complaint for reasonable and probable grounds to investigate me in the camper and require my identification for the events on January 29th. Now, moving on to allegation 8, oppressive conduct, equipment, mishandling of property. Constable Erbes threatened my safety, threatened damaging my property, and created a liability for the RCMP and Mario's Towing by instructing Mario's Towing operator, whom are in contract with the RCMP, to hook up to my motor vehicle with me in the camper as, quote, a structure mounted upon a motor vehicle. The motor vehicle with camper and dirt bike carrier extending from the hitch. The rear hitch is an unsafe load and not towable unless the dirt bike carrier was removed, rear drive shaft knuckle was removed, and person in camper exited and handed over the keys to remove the e-brake. Erbes directing Mario's Towing to hook up to the front wheels of the motor vehicle is a threat to my safety in the camper and active intimidation to get me out of the camper and improper use of police powers. And so there's a thing from my application with affidavit. And the next allegation is 9, intent for improper arrest. Constable Erbes stated in his synopsis dated March 1st, 2022 that he wanted to arrest the individual inside the motorhome for causing a disturbance, but stated he couldn't because the individual was inside the motorhome. Following the Freedom Convoy rally on January 29, 2022, I was inside the camper, mounted upon the motor vehicle in the freezing winter, parked illegally, with all the windows and doors shut as I worked on the day's new video edits, talking on the phone and cooking pizza in the oven. There was no, quote, disturbance, end quote, before Constable Erbes arrived and started threatening the defendant. Erbes was the disturbance. Furthermore, it can be hard not to argue with an officer when they are threatening or addressing you for doing something that isn't a crime. So here's Erbes' synopsis. 1, on March 1st, 2022, Constable Erbes noted MVAR violations with the vehicle and explained those are to Irnie in an effort to get him to leave. Irnie refused and continued reciting American-style legal jargon as reasons, then demanded that a fleet captain or watch commander attend the scene. Irnie screamed at police numerous times. Irnie would shut various windows of the camper and then go to another window and demand to be spoken to from that window. Irnie did repeatedly cause a disturbance multiple times by screaming, shouting, and attracting the attention of multiple pedestrian and motor passerby. The male was not arrested, as was inside the motorhome. Bam! Right? There it is. BC Case Law, Section 175CC. The police officers cannot be the cause of the disturbance. If the disturbance starts as the result of the arrival or contact with the police, this charge is not applicable. Yelling and screaming at the police is not a disturbance. Police cannot be disturbed. It must be the public that are disturbed. The fact that a crowd gathers is not necessarily evidence of the disturbance. They will be portrayed as curious onlookers, not disturbed members of the public. And then I had a link to the police guide for that. And then more again, my material facts that's backing up what I already applied with an affidavit. Erbes demonstrated on multiple occasions on video that he wanted me outside the camper. The way Constable Erbes acted with neglect of duty, improper attitude, and used oppressive conduct tactics towards me in an effort to get me outside the camper, I had reasonable probable grounds to believe that if I stepped outside the camper, Constable Erbes would use unlawful action towards me. For example, on the night of January 29, 2022, Erbes clearly demonstrated that he didn't understand a, quote, camper, end quote, is a structure mounted upon a motor vehicle as per MVAR, and how I wasn't in the motor vehicle and in control of the motor vehicle to be required to identify with my driver's license. Any reasonable citizen could then be of the understanding that if I stepped outside the camper and met Erbes on the sidewalk, he would likely have demanded that I show him my ID and threatened to arrest me for refusal to provide ID or driver's license. I was absolutely terrified to step outside the camper. I had to wait for Erbes to leave me alone before I could leave. I was detained for nearly 3 hours from 8:07 p.m. till 11 p.m. when Corporal Hall finally got Erbes to leave, had the tow truck to unhook, and guaranteed my safety to leave without any further reprisal from Erbes. And then there's my material facts again from my affidavit. To answer Sergeant Fether's questions, And then I go in, he asked me, do you know any witnesses to Constable Erbes serving you the cease and desist letter and second violation ticket on December 14th? As mentioned, the video was no longer available. And then my answer is, unfortunately, I didn't bring any friends or family to my December 14th court time, so there was no additional witnesses to Constable Erbes serving me the additional violation ticket on 9795 in conjunction with the cease and desist letter. However, Corporal Erbes did write the statement of service completed by Conrad Erbes, date December 14th, time 1325. Exact time of the courtroom, guys. 5 minutes before court. Location, Water Street, Kelowna. So the evidence is there. Don't need witnesses for that. He wrote it in his own freaking thing that he gave me in a cease and desist. The cease and desist letter was dated in pen in front of me with the time 1325, and Erbes also highlighted the time with a yellow marker in front of the courtroom door 305 before our 1330 court time with Justice Burgess. I also brought up the cease and desist and AJ 9795 additional violation ticket as an act of intimidation threatening a witness to Justice Bergs on December 14, 2022. I spoke about this issue when I called forward to the court podium to speak, as Burgess mentioned the court was out of time and he would reschedule. I recommend getting the court recordings for December 14th and more confirmation of Erbes serving the cease and desist outside the courtroom door at 1325. And on and on and on. Anyways, guys, you can see I laid it out there. And then my final thing was important issue. Commissioners, interviews, and security report. I would like a copy of these documents, and I note I have a provincial court hearing scheduled for September 20th, 2023. I also request a copy of Constable Erbes' RCMP handbook notes pertaining to the events of January 29th. Notice of particulars, I quoted in my request. I have the right to a fair trial, which depends on being able to call evidence necessary to establish a defense and to challenge the evidence called by the prosecution. This right imposes a duty on the Crown to make reasonable inquiries of other government entities that could reasonably be considered to be in possession of relevant information. It is a principle of fundamental justice that the accused has the right to control his or her own defense, and that's under Swain 97172. See attached application, affidavit. Sincerely, Marcel. So there you have it, guys. A quick update. And then I followed up again on September 22nd. Judge Andrew Tam dismissed Erbes' frivolous lawsuit. Judge Tam only had one question for Erbes. Did he understand that Section 3, Subsection 2, BC Provincial Court states Provincial Court small claims have no jurisdiction to hear allegations of slander and libel? Erbes embarrassed himself with his answer, and the judge dismissed the claim in under 7 minutes. So yeah, because he sued me, so that was thrown out by Judge Tam, guys. And then eventually, we'll have to start another video on this, but eventually I got this secret from Corporal Sergeant Failure, got the secret detailed security report from the bylaw, or not from bylaw, but from Commissioners Security of Kelowna, and that's a whole nother story, guys, and we'll keep it updated. But I got court again May 2nd, courtroom 350 again in front of Justice Burgess, guys, where I'm going to continue. It just really got started. I only got to ask like 3 questions, where now I got all of my cross-examination for Erbes, and I encourage everyone to come out to this court date. More witnesses the better to Erbes, harassment to Erbes, corruption, and his lies, guys. He's going to either not answer the questions or he's going to lie and be caught in a lie. So stay tuned, guys, for cross-examination of Erbes, May 2nd, courtroom 350, and it starts, I believe, at, again, 10:30. So I'll be at the courthouse at 10 a.m. outside to greet people. Before 10:30, we go upstairs to room 350. Irnieracing News, guys. Cheers.